You know, I caught myself doing it again just yesterday. I was walking past a gym, and there was this poster in the window.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, you know the type of swimmer, just completely shredded, broad shoulders, the whole thing, the perfect physique.
Hmm.
And my brain, it just instantly went, okay, that's it. If I sign up and I swim 3 times a week, I will look exactly like that.
It's a very seductive thought, isn't it?
Haha.
Input,
Yeah,
swimming, output, perfect body. It feels so logical.
exactly. Or, I do it with books. I'll buy biographies of billionaires, Musk, Buffett, and I just stack them up thinking, if I just read about their morning routines, I'll somehow absorb their success.
It's comforting to believe the world works that way.
Hmm.
A simple cause and effect.
Yeah.
But what if I told you that in both of those cases, the swimmer and the billionaire, you have the causality completely backward?
I have a feeling you're about to dismantle my entire self-improvement strategy. But that is exactly why we're here. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a monster of a topic, unpacking Rolf Dobelli's The Art of Thinking Clearly. And looking at the notes, this isn't really a how-to guide for being smart, is it?
No, not at all. It's actually the opposite. Dobelli isn't trying to teach you how to think correctly. He's giving us a catalog of all the ways we systematically think incorrectly.
And that word systematic feels really important here. Like, we're not just talking about random mistakes.
Right, we're talking about cognitive biases.
Hmm.
These are predictable, routine errors in logic that are just, hardwired into our operating system. They trip us up in business, investing, our personal lives, everywhere.
So our mission today is to sort of identify these bugs in the code.
To debug our own thinking so we can stop them before they cause real damage.
I love that, debugging the brain. Okay, so let's go back to my future failed gym membership. Why was I wrong about the swimmer's body?
Well, this is what Dobelli calls the swimmer's body illusion. He actually uses an anecdote from Nassim Taleb, who made the exact same mistake.
Oops.
Yeah. He joined a pool to get that swimmer's body, but he eventually realized professional swimmers don't have those amazing bodies because they train.
Wait, so what's the reason then?
They're elite swimmers because they were born with that physique. It's a selection factor, not a result.
Ah, okay. So their bodies are naturally suited for swimming, and that's why they got good at it in the first place.
Precisely. Long torsos, specific muscles. Swimming didn't create the body created the swimmer. Thinking you can get that body by swimming is like looking at a cosmetics ad.
And thinking the makeup made the model beautiful.
Exactly, when really she was chosen because she was already beautiful.
Hmm.
We confuse the selection criteria with the outcome.
That is deeply logical and also a little bit depressing for my workout goals.
Yeah.
But Dobelli says this goes beyond just looks. He brings up Harvard, right?
He does, and this one's a bit more controversial. He asks, is Harvard a good school that turns average people into geniuses?
Mm.
Or does it just recruit the smartest, most driven students on the planet to begin with?
I see the point. If you take the top 0.1% of students, you could probably put them in a shed for 4 years and they'd still end up pretty successful.
That's the argument. We see the successful graduate and assume the school caused the success, not the selection process. It's the same error.
So the takeaway is to be wary of self-help books and get ripped quick schemes.
And that focus on only looking at the winners leads us straight into an even bigger trap: survivorship bias.
Okay, I love this one. It explains so much about our culture. I always think of Rick, that friend we all have who quits his job to become a rock star.
Right. And Rick does that because all he sees are rock stars. On TV, on magazine covers. To Rick, success looks common.
But he's ignoring the graveyard.
He is ignoring the graveyard. For every one rock star we see, there are, 10,000 failed musicians who never made it? But failure is invisible. Nobody interviews the guys who played in their garage for 20 years and went nowhere.
So we massively overestimate our chances because the failures aren't reporting in.
Exactly. We see successful startups, and we look for their common success factors.
Yeah.
But we ignore the fact that thousands of failed startups might have done the exact same things.
That is a chilling thought. So what's the fix? How do we stop being so seduced by success?
Dobelli's advice is grim but necessary. You have to visit the cemetery.
Metaphorically.
Yes, metaphorically. Actively seek out the failed projects, the bankrupt companies, the investments that went to zero. It gives you a much more realistic view of the odds.
Visit the cemetery. I'll remember that for my next billion-dollar idea. Okay, let's pivot. Let's talk about how we act around other people, because I like to think of myself as an independent thinker, but
The data would suggest you are a herd animal.
I'm just a sheep in nice clothes, basically.
This is social proof. The herd instinct, the classic example is just looking up at the sky.
Oh, it works every time. One person looks up, I ignore them. 5 people look up.
You have to look up. You can't help it.
I need to know, what are they all looking at?
And evolutionarily, that makes sense. On the savannah, if everyone started running, you didn't stop to ask why. You just ran.
Right. The skeptics got eaten, the followers survived. But today, that gets us into trouble. Like, canned laughter in sitcoms.
I hate it.
Me too, it's so annoying. But the research says it works.
It works. It makes us laugh longer and more often, even when we know it's fake. It just bypasses our logic. But it gets more dangerous than that. Think of the Solomon Asch experiment from the 50s.
That's the one with the lines, right?
Yeah, the line links. Simple task. You show someone a line, ask them to match it to 1 of 3 others. The answer is obvious.
A child could do it.
But if you put that person in a room with a bunch of actors who all intentionally give the wrong answer,
The subject starts to doubt their own eyes.
about a third of the time, they'll give the obviously wrong answer just to fit in with the group.
Wow. We will deny objective reality just to not be the odd one out.
As one novelist put it, if 50 million people say something foolish, it is still foolish. But our brains have a really hard time with that.
And this extends to people in charge, too, right? We don't just follow the herd, we follow the leader. Authority bias.
Deeply ingrained in us. And the most terrifying example is the Milgram experiment, 1961.
The electric shocks. I remember reading about this. It's rough.
It's harrowing. Participants were told by a professor in a white coat to give electric shocks to another person, an actor, for wrong answers,
And the actor would scream, complain of a heart condition.
and eventually go silent. And the participants, they were sweating, they were trembling, they wanted to stop, but the man in the white coat just said, "The experiment requires you to continue."
And they did.
Over half of them went all the way to the maximum lethal dose just because a guy in a costume told them to.
So symbols, uniforms, titles, white coats, they can just switch off our critical thinking.
They can. It used to be a huge problem in aviation.
In aviation, how?
Co-pilots wouldn't dare correct a captain, even if the captain was making a fatal mistake. The hierarchy was too strong. It literally led to crashes.
So how did they fix that?
They had to create crew resource management. It's a system that specifically trains junior crew members to challenge authority. They had to systematically dismantle the bias to save lives.
That's incredible. Okay, so speaking of competence, let's talk about how we fool ourselves. Dobelli calls confirmation bias the mother of all misconceptions.
It's the big one. It's our tendency to see new information in a way that fits our existing beliefs and just filter out anything that contradicts them.
We see what we want to see.
We really do. Dobelli mentions this great little experiment, the 2-4-6 sequence. Have you heard of this?
I have. I actually tried it on my partner. They fell for it completely. Can you break it down?
It's so clever. A professor gives students the numbers 2, 4, 6 and asks them to guess the rule. They can test their theory with other number sequences.
So most people say like 8, 10, 12. They're testing the rule, add 2.
Right? And the professor says, yes, that fits the rule. So they feel confident. They announce the rule is add 2.
But they're wrong.
They're wrong. The actual rule was just the next number must be higher than the previous one.
Ah, I see. They were only trying to confirm their theory.
Exactly. They weren't trying to falsify it.
Yeah.
A clearer thinker would have tried 2, 3, 5, or 50, 2, 10, something that would get a no from the professor. They would try to kill their own theory.
That requires such discipline. Like Charles Darwin, right? He had a system for this.
He was a master at this.
Yeah.
He carried a notebook, and whenever he saw an observation that contradicted his theory, he had to write it down within 30 minutes.
Why the time limit?
Because he knew his own brain would naturally try to forget or ignore the disconfirming evidence. He had to force himself to pay attention to it.
That is serious discipline. Now, sticking with knowledge, there's a great story about Max Planck and his chauffeur.
This is one of my favorites. It perfectly illustrates chauffeur knowledge.
Lay it on us.
So Max Planck, the Nobel-winning physicist, is touring Germany, giving the same lecture on quantum mechanics over and over. His chauffeur hears it so many times he memorizes it. One day the chauffeur jokes, "Professor, you look tired. Why don't I give the lecture in Munich and you can sit in the audience wearing my cap?"
No way! Did he do it?
He did. They swapped clothes. The chauffeur gets up and delivers the lecture flawlessly. But then a physicist stands up and asks a really complex follow-up question.
Ah, the moment of truth.
And the chauffeur doesn't even blink. He says, "I'm surprised to hear such a simple question in an advanced city like Munich. So simple, in fact, I'll let my chauffeur answer it.
That's brilliant. What a save.
It's a great story, but it highlights a vital distinction. There's real knowledge, like Planck has, from deep work, and then there's chauffeur knowledge, the ability to put on a show.
Like a news anchor reading a teleprompter.
Exactly. They sound authoritative, but they lack deep understanding. The telltale sign of a true expert is that they know the limits of their knowledge. They're not afraid to say, I don't know.
Whereas the chauffeur will just keep talking.
A chauffeur has an answer for everything.
I don't know. 3 words to trust. Okay, let's shift to how we handle control. Or the illusion that we have any.
The illusion of control. Yeah.
I have a confession. I press the closed door button in elevators repeatedly, even though I have a deep suspicion it does absolutely nothing.
Your suspicion is correct. You are pressing a placebo button.
I knew it.
In many modern elevators and with many office thermostats, those buttons are disconnected. They're just there to give you a sense of agency.
I feel so betrayed. It's just a fidget spinner for adults.
Pretty much. But we crave that feeling of control. Look at casinos. People throw dice harder when they need a high number.
As if the force of the throw has any impact on probability. It's magical thinking.
We all do it. And then there's the flip side. When we feel we must do something, even when doing nothing is the best option. Action bias.
This one feels very modern. The pressure to always be doing something.
It is. The best example is from soccer penalty kicks.
The goalie.
The goalie. The ball moves too fast to react, so they have to decide where to dive beforehand. Statistically, about a third of shots go right down the middle. So standing still is often a good strategy.
But they almost never do that. They always dive.
Always. Why? Because of how it looks. If you stand still and the ball goes in, you look lazy, incompetent. If you dive spectacularly and miss, well, at least you tried.
So we prefer the dignity of a useless action over the appearance of inaction.
We do. And you see it in investing all the time. Panic trading when the best move is often just to sit tight and wait. It reminds me of that Pascal quote.
All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
Sometimes waiting is the hardest but smartest decision.
Let's talk about value. Why do we hold on to things we shouldn't? I'm thinking about sitting through a truly terrible movie just because I paid for the ticket.
The sunk cost fallacy. We've all been there.
My logic is always, well, I don't want to waste the money.
But the money is already gone. It's sunk. Whether you stay or leave, the money is not coming back. By staying, you're just wasting your time as well. You're paying twice.
That's such a good way to put it. This gets dangerous in business, right? The Concorde effect.
Exactly. The British and French governments kept pouring money into the Concorde jet long after it was obvious it would never be profitable.
Just to justify the money they'd already spent.
It happens in careers and relationships. I've put 5 years into this. I can't leave now. Rationality says you only look at future costs and benefits. The past is irrelevant.
Okay, another one.
Yeah.
Scarcity. The cookie experiment.
A classic. Stephen Wurtzel's study. He put cookies in 2 jars. One was full, the other had only 2 cookies left.
And the ones from the nearly empty jar.
Were rated as far more delicious and desirable, even though they were the exact same cookies.
Because what is rare is valuable.
It's why sales tactics like only while supplies last work so well. It triggers that panic of missing out.
And then there's the anchor, how arbitrary numbers can trick us.
This one is genuinely scary. In one study, they had judges write down the last 2 digits of their Social Security number before recommending a sentence for a crime.
No, don't tell me.
It had a significant effect. Judges with higher random numbers suggested longer sentences. Their brains were anchored to that meaningless high number.
That is deeply unsettling. It means our judgment is so easily hacked.
It is. It's why the first offer in negotiation is so powerful. It sets the anchor for everything that follows.
All right, let's talk about something I deal with every time I go to the grocery store. The paradox of choice. Why is it so hard to buy jam?
Because there are too many kinds of jam. The famous experiment showed that when a store offered 24 flavors, people looked, but very few actually bought anything.
And when they offered just 6?
Sales went through the roof. Too much choice leads to paralysis, and even if you do choose, dissatisfaction. You keep wondering about all the ones you didn't pick.
So good enough is the new perfect.
It has to be.
And connected to that is our total inability to close doors, to just commit.
We want to keep all our options open. We have read 5 books. We have multiple projects on the go. We're terrified of missing out.
Dobelli tells the story about burning the ships.
Yes, both General Sun Yu and Cortez. When they landed in enemy territory, they burned their own ships. Right. They completely removed the option of retreat.
That seems incredibly reckless.
That was the point. By removing the safety net, they forced total commitment. Their soldiers fought with a focus they wouldn't have had otherwise.
I get it. Keeping options open costs energy. Sometimes you have to burn the ships to move forward.
You have to close doors deliberately.
So after all this, it feels like our brains are just wired to mess up. Survivorship bias, confirmation bias, sunk costs.
Our brains are connection machines. They evolved to make fast decisions on the savannah, not to navigate the stock market.
So how do we win? How do we get better?
Dobelli's core philosophy is what's called the via negativa.
The negative way.
Right. It means we don't need to be smarter or find new secrets to success. We just need to be less irrational.
So success by avoiding stupidity.
Exactly. It's downside removal.
Yeah.
If you can just learn to spot these errors and avoid them, ignore the social proof, cut your sunk costs, you automatically improve your thinking. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to stop tripping over your own feet.
I really like that. It takes the pressure off.
I have to leave you with one final tricky thought. The introspection illusion.
Go on.
As we've been talking, you've probably been thinking, wow, I see my boss doing that, or my friend Rick totally has survivorship bias.
Absolutely guilty. I have a mental list of people who need to hear this.
And that is the final trap. We believe we can look inside ourselves and see our own thinking clearly. We believe we are objective.
But that's an illusion.
It's a complete illusion. We are just as susceptible to all of this as anyone else, maybe even more so, because we're confident that we aren't.
So the real question is, are you actually a clear thinker? Or do you just feel like one?
That's the one to sleep on.
On that note, I'm going to go. Not press any elevator buttons. I'm going to sit quietly in a room.
Solid choice.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Remember to murder your darlings, spot the chauffeurs, and we'll see you next time.